The leader of the foot goes full tilt. Here's your look at the new NECA Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pinball Shredder. Cowabunga dudes, NECA is serving up a heaping helping of total awesomeness, and in honor of the TMNT pinball game by Stern Pinball, releasing as a Walmart exclusive was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Stern Pinball Appearance Crate, which set includes a beanie, a unisex t-shirt, magnet keychain, and the exclusive Pinball Shredder action figure. Before we pop in our quarters? What decade are you from? Yeah, admittedly, I'm sure most arcades aren't a quarter anymore. Pinballs in arcades are probably closer to about $1 now. I just realized, really dated myself by saying that. Anyways, pushing forward, before, of course, we get a closer look at Pinball Shredder, the first thing we're going to want to do is figure out how tall it stands. And while I'm doing that, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA Toys who appreciated the days gone past, where you could pop in a single quarter and play at least a full game, or at least as far as your life would take you, on the old original vintage arcades and pinballs. Anyways, they took the time and sent this my way, and a big thank you to NECA Toys for doing that. Gonna take the tape measure right to the very top of the Pinball Wizard to reveal that Pinball Shredder is in fact 6.7 inches in height. Switching that over to centimeters, the figure stands 17 centimeters exactly. And for obvious comparisons, we'll move over the Pinball Shredder. We'll bring in the original Shredder. You guys can see the difference between the two. Nothing necessarily has been remolded in a case like this. Simply, it's just the same figure with a brand new, shiny looking coat of paint. Anyways, we'll also bring in a couple other comparisons. Let's bring in Splinter, just for no other reasons. We can also bring in April O'Neil for another comparison. And we'll also bring in, I always seem to bring him in lately. Let's bring in Raphael, just a random cartoon turtle. And of course, we'll also bring in Rocksteady and Bebop on either side of the figures. The whole point of this was just to basically fill the screen out, but still the end result, though, is that Pinball Shredder is in fact the same Shredder that we got before, just not as shiny and purty as what we have right now. So the story behind Pinball Shredder was that he was a product of a collaboration between NECA Toys and Stern Pinball. Released inside the TMNT Stern Pinball Appearance Crate, it was released only to Walmart stores, and it was around a $50 box. Unfortunately, here in Canada, I don't think we ever did get a TMNT Stern Pinball Appearance Crate, but it did circulate around to many US Walmarts. And for $50 included inside, you got yourself a pizza magnet, a Rocksteady and Bebop keychain, a t-shirt, a Krang beanie, and of course, the brand new paint decoed Pinball Shredder, which again is essentially the same Shredder as we got before, with the introduction of some brand new metallic colors in the purple and the silver. For his accessories though, Pinball Shredder sadly doesn't come with much. If you are looking for, say, a sword or a blaster for him to hold in his hands, you won't find it necessarily in this release, but you could easily, I'm sure, pull it and pluck it from a previous NECA toy release from the past. For the included accessories, Shredder comes included with some closed fists, currently socketed in the forearms, as you can see right now, but he also comes with a pair of grabbing hands, too. It is the same hands that we did get with the Shredder before, and even though, again, he doesn't come with really any weapons for him to hold, for the vast amount of accessories that we have gotten with other previous NECA releases, I'm sure you could easily just use one of those and have them displayed with this Shredder instead. So he comes with a couple of grabbing hands. And then he also comes with a couple of gestured hands as well. Though it's somewhat apparent, you can see that, sadly, on the interior of the palm, the silver has been left off. It's painted rather nicely on the outside, but unfortunately on the inside, the paint is nowhere to be found. The blades are all softer plastic, so you don't have to worry about any damage done with those. But again, you have a couple of swappable hands to go with. To change out any one of the hands, I'm sure you already know the direction that this is going, we're going to go ahead and grab the forearm and just very carefully wiggle the hand out of the socket. Just like this. It does help to twist as you're pulling. Don't simply just pull them out. Then find the appropriate hands. Thumbsies go in, of course, and then we're just going to twist this back into the socket. And you've got yourself a little gestured hand that you can display with the figure. I think probably what I will do is go to my proverbial tickle trunk, see if I can find a blaster or a sword maybe I can display with Shredder. I would eventually like to maybe display the figure with the weapon, with a weapon. He doesn't come with one, but again, for the $50 price point that the box was being sold for in Walmart's, I think we really did get a lot of good value inside, not to mention the exclusive Shredder here. So, of course, we'll just move this one over. I'm sure you guys will want to see a closer inspection between the two figures. There is definitely a vast improvement on paint. You could still validly argue that this one does have the more accurate cartoon colors, and I certainly would agree with you on that. This one, when you compare the two, the more vibrant purples and silvers aren't something you would expect to see in the cartoon, although I would argue the point. There are some of the early, and I'm talking the very limited early run episodes of TMNT, where Shredder has some additional reflection on his face. I think one of the instances that come to my mind is when he says to the turtles, "Join me." I think he did have a lot of reflection off of his helmet. So you could really say, based on that, it's an earlier appearance to Shredder. Of course, it's based more so on the TMNT Pinball game, which again brings in some much appreciated coloring to this guy. Even like his face, for example, has some additional warmer colors to him that when you compare it to the original one almost comes across a bit flatter, by comparisons, of course. I've also noticed, too, when you're looking at the arms, omitted here in this case, you don't have the panel lining dividing up the muscles on this one. That, of course, this one doesn't have it, but it certainly looks like that Shredder got himself a bit of a tan. This one's got some much darker skin tones. Of course, as you can see, the blades are very differently done as well. Same sculpt, but it's definitely an introduction of this additional silver, which when you're looking at it, it's not even really just silver. There's almost like a bluish tint going on here. It's almost got like a pearlesque color. It really does look super sharp on the figure. Not literally super sharp, you know what I mean. Of course, he does have the cape working the exact same way as the original figure. Again, we'll bring the figure back in so you can see the difference between the two. The capes seem to be about the same color. I would almost even say that this one has a slight little bit more of a reddish tint to it than this Shredder that has a little bit more of that darker purple coloring. But it's so very close. It's almost even hard to see if there's a difference between the two. Paint on this guy is really quite good. A little bit in the eyes, you'll see, yeah, there's a little bit of white that's made its way past the point of his eyeball. But again, how could you not love that metallic silverish blue that they added to the helmet? Boy, does that ever shine. Of course, it's not just that silverish blue that makes its appearance to the figure. You got all this introduction of this nice metallic purple, making up his tunic and the lower skirting that he has on the costume. Even like the blacks, and again, I hate to sound like a broken record, keep bringing in the exact same figure time and time again, but even like the black seems like it's a lot sharper, a lot darker as well, and it adds a little bit of a almost reflective sheen to it as well. Again, when you really compare the two, sculpting doesn't change at all. It's the exact same figure, but man, that additional metallic coloring, boy, does that ever look great on the figure though. Flipping the cape up so you can see what it looks like on the backside here. I really like that they did go with the darker tan to the skin. I think if you had gone with a paler color of flesh tone, I don't know if it would have gone as well with the purple or that silverish blue there in the spikes. Look a little bit further down on the figure again, just the straight stock black plastic legs. But when we spin it around to the front, introduced, hello, how are you, is the shin guards. As you can see, spiked out nicely with all the little scars and carvings actually done to the metal. This isn't different at all by any stretch of the imagination to the original Shredder figure, but again, somehow adding the metallic blue to it, that bluish silverish tint coloring that they ended going. Somehow these little scratches and indentations to the mold seem to stand out a lot more. I really like that. Of course, looking at the articulation on Pinball Shredder, it's the same as before. His head sits on top of a ball peg. Because of that, you can move the head down, you can move the head up, back and forth, and of course you can rotate it all the way around. Though that would kill the real Shredder. As for his arms hinge out. Now, this one arm here is a little on the tighter side. I was able to free up this side, but I probably will still go in there with a hairdryer. I haven't done it yet, and just maybe heat up the area of the shoulder, just to see if I can loosen up that joint just a little bit more. I would suspect, like the original shredder, you'd be able to pull off a 90-degree angle bend. But like I said, the arms, just out of packaging and the time that I've spent with the figure, still a little on the tight side. And of course, I don't want to force that any more than I have to. The arms still move forward and back, fine and good. He has a swivel at the bicep. He has a double hinge on the elbow, like the original figure. Hand rotates all the way around, and it hinges also back and forth too. The upper torso has only what seems to be just a ball joint. And the ball joint's at the base at least, so when it comes to moving the torso, you still benefit the same amount, I feel, as if you had the ball joint right here. And of course, it would then disrupt the sculpting of the torso. Doesn't bother me at all, then, that they've got the ball joint a little bit lower down, like the original shredder. But again, like the torso does move back and forth, up and down, and again, you can rotate it all the way around if you want to. The legs split out, and because the lower skirting is split on the side in a softer plastic, it doesn't then limit what you can do with the legs. You can bring those out quite easily at a full splits. Ouch, it's got to be painful. Bring the legs forward and back. He has a swivel at the top where that attaches to the ball peg. He has a double hinge happening on the knee. Then he has articulation at the bottom foot. Actually, technically, he does have articulation here as well, where you can swivel that back and forth. But then when it comes to his feet, the feet move back and forth. You can angle them back and forth this way, quite a lot actually. And he does have toe articulation as well. One thing I did notice with the Pinball shredder, the Pinball Wizard shredder, just adding extra things to it, is that the material that they used for the feet seemed like it's a softer plastic. I just happened to notice that earlier when I was looking at the figure, that when I'm comparing the two feet, it seems like they're using a denser plastic for the feet. And I'm sure that's probably across the board as well. But I did notice that Pinball shredder has slightly softer plastic in the feet. Very, a little bit softer. It still doesn't have any issues really standing. But what a great looking figure this guy is. He doesn't have, granted, yes, the articulation. Well, he has the articulation. Granted, doesn't have the accessories that, say, the original shredder has. But again, really, if you have been collecting these NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures for all the years that I have, certainly enough of, I've got drawers upon drawers of accessories, weapons, swords, and all that other stuff. I'm sure I could easily just pull from those drawers a sword, a gun, a laser blaster, something I could display along with the figure. I'm probably just going to display, I think, Pinball shredder with a sword. Yeah, a sword seems probably like the best suited weapon to go along with this figure. For many of the NECA figures I'm planning to keep in my collection, I tend to then discard the packaging, because after all, I just don't need it anymore. There's some cases where I still keep them, like many of my horror figures, but for the TMNT stuff, I tend to just recycle those boxes just to free up a little bit more space. I'm definitely not going to do that, though, when it comes to Pinball shredder. I mean, look at the artwork on the packaging here. Why would you want to throw this away? It doesn't necessarily mean that Shredder's going to go back into that cardboard prison of his, but it definitely means when it comes to displaying this figure on my shelf, I'm going to be putting the box, I think, right behind it. I mean, look at the sinister-looking Krang to the far right of the box. Wouldn't that be sweet if NECA Toys could release a Pinball Krang with that particular head sculpt? That particular Krang would, of course, be a little bit larger, and I'm not sure they're probably going to consider doing it, but I'm happy to see that they gave us a Pinball shredder with this really nice metallic color scheme. Not only does the purple pop, but then you've got that silver with the little sprinklings of blue on there. Boy, does that ever look like a great-looking shredder. It's not the most cartoon accurate. I think in a case like this, you would be picking up the figure more so for the fact that, A, it's an exclusive. It was an exclusive to, of course, that Stern Pinball crate, but also the fact that it just has some really great coloring for him. And this particular figure, well, it doesn't have anything in the way of accessories short of a few swappable hands. I mean, I've collected enough of these over the years that I can easily go to my little chest drawer. It's more like a little storage drawer, and I can pull out some of the other weapons that came included with previous shredders. And absolutely, I'll probably display him looking like this with the one gestured hand sticking out, and maybe, yeah, put a katana in his other hand. What a great looking shredder. Unfortunately, again, when it came to picking this up for myself, the Stern Pinball crate as an exclusive to Walmart is worth a $50 value, but it was a US dollar value as well. And to find it anywhere on Walmart's website, well, first of all, Walmart doesn't deliver to Canada. I'd have to order it from walmart.ca. Right now, you already see the problem that I would be facing with that. So I'd have to then check on places like eBay. Well, they were selling them on eBay, but they were selling them at an increased price. Eventually, I would still like to track one down, because not only would it give you the exclusive shredder, which we already were looking at in this review, but it came with some pretty cool TMNT swag as well. I could see myself probably wearing one of those Krang beanies around. Have you managed to be able to pick up the pinball shredder? If so, let me know down below in the comments section. And if you are living in the US, have you had any chance at all finding the Stern pinball crate? As I said, it was an exclusive to Walmart. A big thank you, though, to the folks over at NECA Toys that provided the sample of pinball shredder, without, of course, the rest of the Stern pinball crate, but at least the exclusive figure that we could have a look at in this review. If you are new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, loved as well the pinball shredder, hit this video with a like and make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Not only are we going to be looking at some more TMNT figure reviews, but I have a good strong feeling that we are also going to be looking at some new NECA releases in the not so distant future either. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do, and I'll see you guys next time.